The film starts with a tragic accident. A plane has just crashed. The wreckage is scattered everywhere, and hundreds of people are dead. But by luck, a small boy named Shin survives. He looks for his parents, who are most likely dead. Suddenly, he hears the voice of a girl asking him for help. But Shin is too young to understand what to do. At that moment, a large piece of the plane falls on the girl. Whether she survives or dies is not shown, and the scene shifts to years later. Now Shin is grown up and works in a car garage. The garage owner, Tetsuya, treats Shin like his own son, and Shin also sees his father's reflection in him because his parents truly died in that accident. Tetsuya is about to open another garage and wants Shin to become the manager, but Shin refuses, thinking he is not ready for such a position. Still, Tetsuya gives him time to think. Even Tetsuya's daughter, Mariko, convinces Shin, believing only he is fit for the role. Another worker in the garage, Kazuyuki, feels jealous because Tetsuya always favors Shin. Out of anger, he often troubles Shin. One day, he bullies him again and pushes him, which causes Shin's mobile phone to break. After work, Shin goes to a shop to get it repaired. There, he meets a girl named Aoi. Shin tells her his phone is broken. Aoi explains that it is an old model and finding parts is difficult, but still, she manages to repair it. That night, while looking at his phone, Shin remembers Aoi. The next day, on his way to work, Shin takes the metro. There, he sees the hands of a man standing near him suddenly start disappearing. It is revealed that Shin got this power at the site of the plane crash, which allows him to see people's future, especially their deaths. The disappearing hands show that the man will soon die. But Shin cannot do anything and continues to work. At the garage, Mariko again tries to convince him to accept the manager's post, but Shin does not give a clear answer. Later that night, Shin passes by the mobile shop again, still looking for Aoi. Suddenly, a stranger bumps into him. Shin notices that the stranger's body is also disappearing. Curious and worried, Shin follows him. After a while, a speeding car hits and kills the man. Shin feels regret that he could not save him and becomes disturbed. The next day, he asks Mariko what she would do if she got a power to see the future and knew when someone was going to die. She replies that this is not a power but a curse, and she would never want such an ability. Soon after, Shin's mobile breaks again. He goes back to Aoi for repair. This time, he notices that Aoi's hands are also disappearing. Shocked, he decides to save her. He asks her to meet him after work. At first, Aoi hesitates, but later she agrees to meet at a coffee shop. When she arrives, Shin sees that her hands are becoming normal again, which makes him very happy. Aoi asks why he has called her. Shin explains that he has the power to see the future, but he also doubts that Aoi will believe him. Feeling embarrassed, he apologizes and leaves. Outside, while going home, Shin suddenly feels a sharp pain in his chest. Somehow, he manages to reach home safely. The next day, with full confidence, Shin tells Tetsuya that he is ready to become the manager. Shin continues working in the garage, where Aoi also comes to meet him. Shin feels surprised to see her. Aoi explains that she got his address from the shop and has come to talk about something important. Shin offers her coffee. Aoi places a newspaper on the table and explains that near her store, there is a factory where an attack took place last night, killing many people. Aoi could have been one of them, because she usually takes that route after work. But on that night, Shin saved her. She says she remembers his words about seeing the future and death, and she thanks him. Shin laughs it off. The next day, Mariko enters the store and immediately realizes that someone had visited last night. She asks Shin about it, and he honestly tells her everything. She feels happy because this is the first time Shin has opened up and made a friend, whereas earlier, he never let anyone come close. Here, a short backstory is shown. Once, a worker girl in the garage liked Shin. They were only friends, but Shin never paid much attention to her. Eventually, the girl got involved with a rich customer and left the garage forever. The story returns to the present. Shin and Mariko hear Tetsuya shouting at Kazuyuki, who had secretly taken a customer's car to meet his friend. Instead of admitting his mistake, he gets angry at Shin and even throws something at him. Tetsuya punches the worker and fires him from the job. As the worker leaves, Shin notices Tetsuya's hands disappearing, a sign that his life is also in danger. Because Shin considers him like a father, he decides to protect him. After work, Shin invites the owner for dinner. Tetsuya agrees, and they both walk toward a hotel. On the way, Shin keeps focusing only on Tetsuya and his surroundings. Suddenly, Kazuyuki appears from a dark corner with an iron rod to attack Tetsuya. Shin steps in and saves him. Tetsuya survives, but Shin suffers a heart attack and wakes up in the hospital. Mariko tells him that her father forgave Kazuyuki after he confessed his mistake. The doctor checks Shin and says it might be due to stress. At that moment, Shin notices a little girl disappearing and tries to follow her. The doctor stops him and asks if he also saw the girl fading away. Later, They go to the hospital rooftop to talk. The doctor reveals that he also has this ability, which is called the Fortuna. He explains that humans are not gods, so they have no right to change or play with fate. If someone tries, their own life may fall into danger. Shin's heart attack is also a result of this. Shin keeps thinking about this on the way home. The next day, he calls Aoi to meet and proposes marriage to her. At first, Aoi leaves without giving an answer, but the very next day she agrees. Their relationship grows stronger, and their love deepens. Meanwhile, Kazuyuki returns to Tetsuya to ask for his job back. Shin recommends him, and the owner hires him again. The worker thanks both Shin and the owner. The next day, Shin gets 2 rings for himself and Aoi. He also goes for a hospital checkup, where the doctor warns him that if another heart attack happens, he may not survive. After that, Shin returns to the garage, where a young man comes to repair his car. This man turns out to be the rich customer who once had a relationship with Shin's former friend, the same girl who left the garage. Shin seizes the moment and asks him about that girl. The man starts speaking badly about her and also insults Shin, but Shin stays completely silent. The next day, when the man comes to take his car, Shin notices his body fading away. This means the man is about to die. Still, Shin decides not to interfere. A few days later, Shin attends the man's funeral, where his little daughter cries for her father. Seeing her makes Shin very sad, and he again remembers the girl from the plane crash, whom he could not save. The next day, Shin sits alone in a park, feeling upset. Nearby, some children play with their teacher. A little girl approaches him to ask for her ball, but suddenly, her body also begins to fade. Soon, the other children, and even their teacher, start disappearing as well. Shin quickly checks the hands of all the children, but the teacher misunderstands and thinks he is misbehaving with them. She leaves with the children, dropping a school letter. Shin reads it, and learns that the children are going on a school trip by train. He realizes that something terrible is about to happen. The following day, Shin goes to the station and sees several passengers fading away. He understands that the 7:30 morning train will meet with an accident. His fear becomes stronger because the school letter confirms the children are scheduled to travel on that same train. Suddenly, he remembers that Aoi also uses this train, which means her life is in danger too. That night, Shin visits Aoi at her house. Seeing her safe makes him feel relieved. To protect her from the coming danger, he asks her to go with him on a 3-day trip. At first, Aoi hesitates, but later she agrees. Shin feels happy, but he still worries about saving the children and other passengers. He calls the school to request cancellation of the trip, but the authorities refuse because he cannot provide a valid reason. That evening, Shin writes a letter to Aoi, explaining everything honestly, including the train accident. He also writes about how deeply he loves her. But his plan fails the next morning when Aoi sends a message saying her co-worker has fallen sick, so she must go to the store. Reading this, Shin rushes toward the station. However, police wait outside his house because the schoolteacher has filed a complaint against him, accusing him of misbehaving with children. To save Aoi, Shin escapes from the police and heads straight to the station. There, he sees that Aoi has already boarded the train. Shin quickly hires a taxi to reach the next station before the train arrives, planning to stop it. At the station, he notices construction work. He realizes that one of the cranes will fall onto the train cars, killing everyone. Determined to stop the disaster, Shin lights a smoke candle and stands in front of the train. Aoi, sitting in the coach right behind the engine, sees Shin and urges the driver to stop. The driver halts the train just in time. A moment later, the crane falls, but the train is safe. Shin has successfully prevented the accident and saved all the passengers. Aoi rushes out of the train and finds Shin sitting weakly on the tracks. She runs to him and cries uncontrollably as she hugs him. Shin sacrifices his life to save Aoi and everyone else. At Shin's funeral, Aoi learns that she is the first person with whom Shin ever opened his heart. This truth makes her even more emotional. The story then reveals that Aoi is the same girl from the plane crash, the one who had asked for help. In reality, Shin had saved her back then, but the shock of the tragedy erased the memory from his mind. It also comes to light that Aoi herself possesses the Fortuna. She had been searching for Shin all along. That is why, the first time Shin came to her shop and reacted to her fading hands, Aoi immediately realized that Shin was the boy from her past. She even boarded the train intentionally, because when Shin asked her to join him for a trip, she saw his body fading. She decided to risk her life in order to protect him. But Shin, in turn, risked everything to save the woman he loved. In the end, Aoi reads the letter Shin wrote for her. Tears stream down her face as she wears the rings he had prepared, feeling his presence in her heart. With this, the story of the film comes to an end.